It's a great schus Baruch Hashem to be with everybody on Erev Shabbos and to be able to learn the Torah of the Heilig Piaget. Now, of course, nothing in our world is the same. Like nothing is the same. First of all, we should just take the opportunity to wish a Mazel Tov to Rabbi Yisrael. Did we do this last week? Let's do it again. Okay, let's do it again. Mazel Tov, Baruch Hashem. Our engagement all should just occur b'sha'at tova u'mitzlachos. And there's the chassid and kala should be zochet to the bayis neman b'Yisrael. With the sponsors.
Well, I'll start with that one first. Matt and Rena Walter were sponsoring on Warren Blumen's recent engagement to Miriam Abrahami of Los Angeles.
Mazel Tov.
We have an anonymous sponsor, just because, Yaakov Benzakein for the exclusive Klal Yisrael and all those affected by the transformation. May Hashem protect and give them strength and the comment to those who need it. And also myself sponsoring Zechus for, again, also the safety of Klal Yisrael. For Karasa Tov, Hashem for providing me with continued Mazel Tov.
Amen. Let's continue. Right, so it's this year, I think for many, I know for me, this year is like the highlight of the week. It's always Baruch Hashem, such a mamish. It's a Chevra of Bnai Machshava Tova. That's really what it is. Chevra Baruch Hashem of us being able to get together, to learn together, to grow together, and when the Piagetna spoke about the need to have a Chevra, part of the reason why you have to have a chevra, why you have to have a group of good people to surround yourself with, is number one, because we encourage each other to grow. Right? There's a concept that by keeping good people around you, they push you to become the best version of yourself. But there's also the concept that we all fall on hard times, and when you fall on hard times and you surround yourself with a good chevra, so this way again, there's someone to fall upon, right? There's someone to support you. You have someone to be there with you. That's the power of a chevra. I think with the Piaget, maybe didn't take into. I shouldn't say didn't take it into account, but I think the part that sometimes is a little bit difficult as well. What happens when the entire chevra is having difficulty? See, there's a power of the chevra. If one is having difficulty, okay, you kind of circle the wagons and you lift them up. What happens when everybody is tzibrochen? What happens when everybody is broken? What happens when everybody is overwhelmed? What happens then? What happens then? So everybody says, so that's ultimately, again, when the chevra turns to the Ribono Shel Olam. That's when we recognize that the truth is the chevra is not just all of us here. The chevra is all of us here and the Ribono Shel Olam. He's part of our chevra. He's part of our chaburah. He's part of our Bnai Machshava Tova. And the truth is, sometimes in life, you can't find the right words to console your chevra. Because everyone's in pain, and everyone's having difficulty, and everybody's overwhelmed. But when we know that the Ribono Shel Olam is part of our Chaburah, and he's part of our Chavra, so I will say, so that really gives us the opportunity to draw on the Akash Baruch Hu for chizuk, to draw on the Akash Baruch Hu for strength. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to become more connected individuals. We're trying to become people who have stronger relationships with the Ribono Shel Olam. Remember, like the Piagestan said in the beginning, what's our goal? Our goal is to stop living life as servants and start living life as sons. I don't want to be an Eved. I don't want to be an Eved. I want to be a Ben. I will say, I will tell you, it hit me this week. It hit me this week a lot that as all of us had moments of just profound and overwhelming sadness. Profound and overwhelming sadness. And I realized, like in that moment, what the Piagestan was saying, that if you're an Eved and you're in profound pain, you have someone you could call out to, but you can't necessarily run into those person's arms. Right? The Eved can't necessarily run into the master's arms. First of all, because according to the Piagestan, there's a distance. Right? The Eved's in one place, the other's in a different place. But the beautiful part about being a child is a child could always run into his parents' arms. A child could always run into the protective embrace. And that's the greatness of becoming a Ben. The greatness of becoming a son is that in times of difficulty, we have the ability to run into the arms of the Ribono Shel Olam. It's not just in Eretz Yisrael that they have shelters. Here we also have shelters. It's just a different kind of shelter. In Eretz Yisrael, the shelter is made of concrete block and protects you from rockets. In our shelter is the Ribono Shel Olam. Their shelter is also the Ribono Shel Olam. Kadosh Baruch Hu is everyone's shelter. But like when I feel the enormity of the situation kind of crushing down on me, so I run to the shelter. And that shelter is the Ribono Shel Olam. And even though you reach the shelter, it doesn't mean that everything is okay. But at least you feel protected. At least you feel enveloped by a sense of security. And you know that somehow, some way, everything is going to work out for the best. And so, that's our avoda. That's our avoda. I know it's a different kind of night. This is normally a very happy shir, Baruch Hashem, and it's going to continue. We're going to be happy tonight. Also, going to be simcha. Like Rabbi Nachman said, mitzvah gidol lios besimcha tamid. Chavra, I want to just tell you something. People, I just had this conversation with someone. You're not supposed to walk around morbid. You're not supposed to walk around morbid. You're not supposed to walk around, with a long face. Your heart should be broken. But there's a mitzvah to be makabel. It's called them a sefer panim yafos, to greet everyone with a happy countenance. There's a mitzvah to be able to always be optimistic, to be happy. There's a mitzvah to always have a sefer panim yafos on you. Externally, the Jew always has to radiate optimism and radiate hope. Inside I'm struggling, and inside I'm broken. But outside, my face is sarabim. I'm going to be b'simcha. I'm going to be with confidence. So this is a shir of simcha, and this is a shir of incredible hislavos, and a shir of incredible chavrashaft, and beautiful joy, and again, we should laugh and we should enjoy, but we should recognize ultimately what we're trying to do, and what we're trying to do is to become sons, stop being servants, start becoming sons, so that we have a shelter to run to in difficult times. That's our avoda. So we're picking up tonight on page 54. So if you remember again, last week, I know it feels like time has just I feel just has been warped a little bit. Like last week was Sukkot. I thought Sukkot was like 6 months ago. Right? So last Thursday night, Baruch Hashem, we were in the Sukkah. So if you remember again, beautiful night, Baruch Hashem, of learning, right? Chavra, how different the world was last Thursday night. You think about that a little bit? How different everything was last Thursday night. So I will say, so if you remember again, last week we finished up essentially the formal parts of Bnai Machshava Tova. We finished up the formal part. So now we're picking up in Meretz Hashem on page 54. Tikunim bidvar hachevra. So I'll say that's the section that we are starting with now. So I'll say, here the Piagestan is going to get a little bit more actually into the mechanics of how this Chaburah, of how this Chevra actually works. So we'll say with that, let's begin. So the Piagestan writes as follows. He says, Ta'asu Pinkas, So go ahead and write a list, or write Shebo Yirshumu Shemos HaChaverim B'chol Inyonei HaChavra. V'chol mi sherotze listapeach ela yachtom b'ksav yado tachas hakabala hanirshemes halo hakabala tia nechteves b'ksav ashuris v'chosim achareha yoid bazeh shemekabel hu al atzmo es hakabala v'takanos HaChavra. Shabbos says we're going to see the Piaget that says that what we do is there's a nusach, there's a formulation for officially joining the chevra. I will say what I didn't tell you at the beginning is if you've been eating the food this entire time, you must sign the proclamation when we go ahead and do it. So all of you who thought there were free dinners, right? They thought it was all right. There's no free lunches, no free dinners, no free drinks, nothing. So if you have been consuming all of these months and enjoying your ticket, right? Your price tag for all of that consumption is that we're all going to sign on to this Amirat Hashem together. So what's the nusach? What's the wording? So here it is. So if you look over here in the next section, he says nusach ha-kabbalah. He says this is the nusach. This is the verbiage of the Kabbalah. He says birtzon libi utishukas nafshi ruchi nishmasi. So he says over here, literally again with the will of my heart, the desire of my soul, my spirit, my neshama. I am hereby committing myself to connect with the other members of this holy group. Bnai Machshava Tova. Both said the name of the chevra, the name of our group is Bnai Machshava Tova group. That's the name of our chevra. We can get jackets, right? Right? That's all right. Bnai Machshava Tova. That's our chevra. That's the name. Sorry. If you get that done, so some Under Armour. It's good.
Like rubber jackets with big P.
Yeah, varsity jackets. We'll get. Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry. BMT, good. We're going to get reflectors. You can also get lights for your car if you're part of the chevra. So again, so he says as follows. He says you can go ahead. So it's called Bnei Machshava. That's the name of the chevra. We'll say, why am I part of this chevra? I'm part of this chevra ultimately, again, in order to go ahead and cleanse and to purify my heart and my soul, or my body and my soul. And to sanctify my body and my soul with holiness. I will say, this is important. This is really important. So I will say, I think for many of us, I shouldn't say many, I want to tell you for myself. One of the things that I've really been thinking about a lot this week, the one thought that keeps going through my mind is I really need to get it together. I waste too much time. I go in too many different directions. I'm not serious about enough things. And I'm still playing around thinking that one day I'll grow up. And I would say, it's time to grow up. It's time to grow up. If there are 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds wearing uniforms, dying for Klal Yisrael, putting themselves in harm's way for Klal Yisrael, I have to grow up. I have to grow up. I can't, you'll excuse me for saying, it's like, I can't get mired in this stupidity anymore. I can't waste my time on Facebook, on Twitter, on this, that. I have to stop. I have to stop, again, with the stuff that's just not advancing my life agenda. I have to stop whining about my problems and start, fixing them. And if I can't fix them, then just figure it out and move forward. I need to grow up. I need to get it together. Because our brothers and sisters in Eretz Yisrael, they don't have the luxury of playing around now like we get to play around in life. Right, Chevro, a lot of us get to go through life saying, I'll get serious about something when I grow up. But you're 45. Yeah, I know, but 45 is the new 25, so I have plenty of time. Right? And also, we all have areas like this in life where I know that I just need to become more mature, and I need to become more advanced, and I need to become more serious, and I have to stop dabbling in seriousness in life, and I really need to get serious. And the Rebbe says, that's the idea. He says, L'kachim b'ktushas hakel hakadosh. What does it mean to be a member of this chavra? Let's say, I'm committed to purifying my body and to purifying my soul. That's what I'm committed to. Somebody stops you when you're leaving here tonight. So what did you do? Right? What's your goal? You're part of this Bnai Machshava Tova-Chaburah. What you're part of this? What is it? BMT. Right? You're part of the Bnai Machshava Tova Club. So what does that mean to be part of the Chaburah? It's simple. I am committed to purifying my body and my soul. That's what I do. Now they might ask you, how are you going to do that? And you're going to say, I don't know, right? That's okay, because remember, we've learned a lot of stuff. But everything that we've learned, understand, is for the purpose of purifying body and soul. That's what all of this is. So, okay, we're going to have to go back in Chazar a little bit. Like, what are the specific steps? I will say, the Rebbe is giving us clarity. Because a lot of times, like, we go through life, and if somebody were to ask you, like, what's your goal? So a lot of times I could articulate my career goals. Right? I know what I want to do career-wise. Maybe I know what I want to do family-wise. But if somebody asks you, what are your ruchnius goals? What are your ruchnius goals? So interesting. A lot of times the way we measure our ruchnius goals is how? How do people measure ruchnius goals? No one here has ruchnius goals.
By how you feel?
It could be by how you feel, good. Also, I was like, by how much time? Like, I'm going to learn for X amount of time. Or I'm going to, which, by the way, is great. It's fantastic. A person needs to be koveya a certain amount of time for their learning. Absolutely. But bigadol, like kind of like in the panoramic sense, the way I define, ultimately, again, spiritual growth is purification of body and soul. That's what I'm into. That's what I'm going for. Now, there's many different ways in which that is accomplished, but that is my overarching goal, and that is the mandate of being part of the Chaburah's Bnei Machshava Tova. The Rebbe goes on, he says, Ulakashram, Ba'avodasi Yisbarach Be'ertzon Machshava Dibor U'Maisa. And I will say my goal is to attach myself in service to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, through my will, through my thoughts, through my speech, and ultimately through my actions. I will say these are all, I just want to point out, this is the charter. What we're reading right now is like the charter of the Chaburah. This is what we're all going to sign on to. The charter of the Chaburah. So I will say, in the charter of the Chaburah, I pledge to purify my body and soul. And how is that going to actualize? I'm going to sanctify and connect myself to God in every way. In my wills, I'm going to try to align my will with the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. My thoughts, I'm going to try to really focus my thoughts, that my thoughts, I have purity of thought and purity of intent as well. Dibor, I'm going to watch the way that I speak. Umaisa, I'm going to watch what I do. And I will say, if you remember again, I just want to point out, the one thing that the Piagetna, of course, never demanded of us was what? Was perfection. So understand in life, I could hold myself to a very high ideal, recognizing full well that's what? I'm not always going to live up to it. And that's again, we've seen that that's part of the nature of the human condition. I'm not always going to live up to it. He says, Kiyasech shelo tama, but I'm going to try to be like an immovable peg. Right? The peg is wedged in like an immovable peg. So let's listen to this. Now, how do you do this? So this is really incredibly beautiful. So on one hand, we're making this statement. I want to purify my body and soul. I want to attach myself to the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu with my will, with my thoughts, with my speech, and with my actions. How do I do it? He says, Ume'ata b'koach haTorah, shenasna koach le'ish Yisrael lahakdish kan behema, af kidushas haguf, b'koach hazeh ani omet ata lefnei Hashem, v'hineni mekadesh es atzmi. Shabbos said, this is beautiful. This is a really beautiful idea. So the Rebbe explains, the way we accomplish this, Shabbos is through Torah. Torah vests us with an ability to become holy. Now, what the Rebbe draws on is a profound idea that you find in many different Hasidic sources, which is, the pasuk says like this. The pasuk talks about karbanos. We actually had this not so long ago in Daf Yomi as well. So we'll say, what's the chap with the carbon? You take an animal, right? So you take a sheep, and you go ahead and you say, Hare zu shlomim. Hare zu shlomim. What happens to the sheep? It becomes kodesh, right? You decide, you know what? I want to make myself a nice shearling out of it. Can you do that? No. You want to have dinner from it? Can you? No. It's kodesh. What did you do? Speech. What you did was you designated it. So the Piagetson says, if verbal designation is enough to transform a mundane animal into a chefza, into an object of Kiddusha, then I will say a verbal designation, when I verbally designate myself as someone who is committed to Kiddushas Haguf, Kiddushas HaNefesh, to attaching himself to the Ribono Shel Olam, in desire, in thought, in word, and in deed, the designation itself has the ability to vest me with holiness. Even before I do anything, just the designation. We'll say, by the way, if you remember again, in Daf Yomi, we learned this not so long ago. Where did we learn this concept? A little Chazara. Hari'at mikudeshes li al minas sha'ani tzadik gomer. Right? Not just a good pickup line, right? Right? Become mikudeshes to me on the condition that I am a complete tzaddik. That I'm a complete tzaddik. What's the halacha? What's the halacha? Mikudeshes. Even if what? Afilu, Russia, Gomer is Lashon of the Gemara. Afilu, Russia, Gomer. Reuven says to Rachel, become Mikudeshes to me on the Kiddush, I'm a tzaddik, right? So she's Mikudeshes, even if he is a Russia, we'll say, a Russia Gomer. You know what a Russia Gomer is? Not like a recreational Russia, right? Like on weekends and alternate Tuesdays, right? In other words, like, I'm a Russia all in all the time. That's a Russia Gomer, right? A habitual offender. So I will say, so listen to this, even if he's a Russia Gomer, the Kiddushin works. Why? What does the Gemara say? Shema hirher b'tshuva. Shema hirher b'tshuva. Maybe he had thoughts of tshuva. Thoughts of tshuva. Thoughts of tshuva. So what? Don't tell me thoughts of tshuva. Tell me actions of tshuva. Actions, right? We'll say, aren't we an actionally based religion? But Adama, you see from here that the way you think, and specifically the way you designate yourself, the designation you create for yourself, creates a reality. A person says, I am Kodesh LaHashem. A person says, I am hereby sanctified to God in body and soul, through my desires, through my thoughts, through my actions, through my words. I'll say, even though I haven't done anything, there's a wave of Kiddusha that sweeps over me. By simply designating myself as a holy individual, I become vested with that holiness. An incredible...
So I guess enough from him, then he's moel. Isn't he over Mehila then?
He's not hektish, he's a tzaddik. Not hektish, he's a tzaddik.
The concept of Nazir.
But a Nazir is even more, because a Nazir is also actional, behavioral. Right? The Nazir is doing stuff. So there, it's not just the designation, right? There are behaviors. Here, I think the Piaget has taken this even a step. This is, I think, the answer is, it is the Nazir. I think what he's pointing out over here is even stronger than Nazir, because here, externally, nothing's changed. Behaviorally, nothing has occurred yet. But the simple designation of myself as a Kaddish V'tar makes me Kaddish V'tar.
Are we supposed to be doing that?
This?
I mean...
Are we supposed to be doing this?
Yeah, well, certainly a Nazir, being a Nazir is not supposed to be our ultimate state, right?
The Nazir is different. The problem with the Nazir is a problem of abstinence, unnecessary abstinence. Here the Piaget is not even getting into that. Here he's just talking about how do you self-define. I know that's a dangerous term these days, right? But like, how do you self-define? Like how do you designate yourself? How do you designate yourself? So what the Rebbe is saying is over here, it begins by designating yourself as someone who is Kadosh V'tar.
It's not like willing yourself?
It's not even willing, it's designating. Identifying. It's identifying. Right. In other words, if you ask me who I am, who am I? I am someone who has Kiddushas Haguf, Kiddushas HaNefesh, someone who is attached to God through my will, through my thoughts, through my words, and through my actions. Now someone's going to say, come on, Silber, I saw you behave yesterday, right? You're not. No, you're not. And I'll say, you know what? Yesterday was yesterday. Yesterday was yesterday. This is something new now. This is my new me. My new me. This is the new me. This is the designation I'm making. And I will say the beauty of this is, how many times can you make this designation? How many times?
All the time.
As many times as you need to. Any time in life you want to start over. I will say starting over doesn't begin with behaviors. But starting over begins with designation and identifying yourself in a certain way. It's the most incredible thing in the world.
So says the opposite also, that even if you're a tzaddik gomor, if you have a machshava for bad, you can make it very good.
Right, although there it's really only avodah zara, but inachinam, yeah, it can work both ways. So also the Rebbe goes on, he says, and now what happens? He says, good, Vashem yisparach she'ino mois b'akdashas Yisrael, lo yimos gambi, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu ultimately, again, who never repels and never despises someone in Klal Yisrael who's Kodesh, will not despise me. V'yishres kidushasu alai, he'll rest his kiddush on me. Uv'chol makom she'ehya b'chol olam she'emtzeh tia kidushas Hashem chofefes alai. And wherever I go, wherever I am, the kiddush of HaKadosh Baruch Hu should devolve upon me. U'bezayin anani akavod yakifeni. Hashem will surround me with the 7 clouds of glory. I will say again a beautiful reference to Sukkot. Me'ata v'yad olam. So I will say, so this is the first part of the verbiage. This is the first part of the Kabbalah. We spoke a lot about Kabbalahs this week. This is the first part of the Kabbalah. So we'll say here, it's a statement of what I intend to accomplish as part of this Chaburah. So this is the statement. This is what I intend to accomplish ultimately as part of this Chaburah. But we're not finished. He says, "V'choli bi v'nafshi ani mischanin atal lefnei Hashem." Now, we'll say, now watch this. So the first part of the Kabbalah, it's incredible. The first part of the Kabbalah is what I would call aspirational. It highlights what my goal is. What is my goal? I will say, it's incredible. No, it's good to have clarity in these things. What's my goal? My goal ultimately, again, is I want to have purity of mind, a purity of heart, or purity of soul, and purity of body. I want to be connected to Hashem in my desires and wants, in my thoughts, in my speech, and in my actions. This is my aspirational statement. This is what I want. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, through this aspiration, what I'm asking you is to blanket me with Kedusha. The same way that the animal becomes sanctified just by designation, allow me to become sanctified through designation as well. Okay? I will say, here's the second part of the Kabbalah. Watch this. Bottom of page 54. And with all of my heart and soul, now Hashem, I supplicate before you. What's the second paragraph? The second part of the Kabbalah is Kadosh Baruch Hu, when I fail. He says, Shafilu, even if chas v'shalom, my yetzer hara, I guess, but we'll say I have to say something amazing. I just, at yeshiva at YMC, so one of the things I did with the boys, the Rebbeim actually did with the boys this week, is that the boys took on Kabbalahs. They took on Kabbalahs. And I told the boys, like, you could share your Kabbalah if you want to. You don't have to share a Kabbalah if you don't want to. I think almost all of them shared that Kabbalah. So he compiled a list. I'm going to share it with the parent body as well. And also they were, like, amazing. Like, overwhelming. I looked at this list and I'm like, I should do this stuff. I really should do. And so one of the boys, and they didn't write their names on it, so I don't know, one of the boys wrote, he says, I'm hereby makabel upon myself that when I struggle with the Yetzer Hara, I am going to win.
Wow. Well, I can't guarantee that. Well.
Seriously? Come on. Don't ruin the moment. Hey, I was like, sorry. Hey, you see, you're wrong. You see, that's the beauty of being young, and that's what we lose as we get older. You see, as we get older, we resign ourselves to defeat. When you're young, you actually believe that you could always be successful. If we only held on to that, how much better all of us would be in life. And I was amazed. I was just, it was so striking to me to see, like, a young kid. Again, he's between the ages of 13 and 17, right? That's the range, right? A young kid saying, I struggle, and my Kabbalah is, I want to win my struggles. Yeah, this is right. And at the end of the day, we get older, and I recognize that, yeah, I'm going to lose some. At some point, I'm going to lose some. That's the nature of the human condition. So that's the second paragraph here in the Kabbalah. I will say, I have to tell you, I was so thankful that HaKadosh Baruch Hu let me see that, because it gave me like a good hisorus. First of all, to remember what it's like to be young and idealistic, and to believe that you could always be successful. Invincible, right? That I could actually, like, I could do this. And there's no like equivocation. You know, if an adult were writing that Kabbalah, what would he say? I hear my Kabbalah upon myself to try my best under optimal wind conditions, atmospheric conditions, the right weather, a balanced breakfast. I'm not iron deficient, zinc deficient, right, or anything else. And then I'm going to give it the best shot, right? That's it. That's it. That's it. I'm sorry? Bli neder, right? Of course, Bli neder, right? Bli neder. Let's say, it was just like, I read this and I was like, oh my gosh, like, it was just such a burst of, like, incredible and beautiful, like, youthful idealism. I'm like, yeah, like, let's do this. Like, let's overcome the Yetzer Hara. Like, let's fight this battle. Let's take no prisoners. Let's go ahead and let's actually go out to war against the enemy, believing with all of our heart that we will be successful and not at all hedging our bets, well, in case I lose. But that's youth. That's youth. And the truth is, it's hard to regain that as we get older. So look what Lashon HaKabbalah is. Lashon HaKabbalah is, Ubechol libi v'nafshi, ani mischani ato lefnei Hashem. With all of my heart, with all of my soul, I supplicate before you, Hashem. Shafilu m'chas v'shalom. Yiskaber yitzri alai be'ezaz min hazmanim. Even if chas v'shalom, I fail. If chas v'shalom, I end up failing. If it happens that I end up failing, I will say, if you look at the way that he frames, right? How does he frame failing? Shafilu im chas v'shalom. If God forbid the Yetzer Hara gets the best, I will say, remember again, this goes back to what we learned. I don't remember if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, that when a person makes a Kabbalah to do something, right, and they don't do it, how should they feel about themselves? How do you feel about yourself? Terrible. Terrible. Like you've just failed in such a dramatic way. I'm a failure. You said like not a total failure, but I'm a failure in this moment. I failed. So that's what Lashon HaPiyashetzna is. It's not that, okay, if you fail. If chas v'shalom, the Yetzer Hara gets the best of me. If chas v'shalom, I don't live up to the aspirations in paragraph number 1. If that does happen, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'yachshileni v'yafligeni, v'yapileni, sorry, arega k'mem chas v'shalom, beratzon, top of page 55. And I fall, and I stumble for a moment, right? Either again, because I want the wrong things, I think about the wrong things, o dibar o maisa, I say the wrong things, I do the wrong things, shein hefech ritzon Hashem. So if I have a moment of failure, or whatever that failure is in, right? Whatever area of life that failure is in, Gamkein Hashem berov rachamav lo yimaseni. Hashem, do not become despised by me. Chas shalom. Do not become disgusted by me. Do not. So in other words, what we're saying over here is v'lo yatzieni michutz leparoches kodesh hakadoshim. Do not cast me away from you. So in the second paragraph, what we're saying over here is, if I fail, don't throw me out. Don't throw me out, right? Because if chas v'shalom I fail, in any area that I fail, promise me that you won't throw me away. Promise me that you won't discard me. Promise me that I won't get ejected from your presence. Kimo she'ein behemas hakodesh yotzes l'chulin b'shlo be'em yusa. Rak biyado, as Rabbi says, is incredible. The same way, mostly here's what's amazing, right? You take the animal, you go over to the sheep, you say, Harezu shlomim. Harezu shlomim. Shabbos says, so what happens? Now what's the animal? Carbon. Shabbos say, imagine that, and I'm just going to give you a very crass example, right? So the animal, after, right, everybody's, it's a shlomim. The animal defecates on your foot. You're like, what? Right? Like, there's the shlomim. The shlomim just relieved itself on my foot. Right? Just like relieved itself on my foot. What's going on over here? So Rebbe say, sometimes the animal, even when it's kodesh, acts like an animal. But even when it acts like an animal, it doesn't lose its kedusha. It's still kadosh. Right? Even though that sheep is still going to act like a sheep, the Ma'aseh is still kadosh. Kadosh Baruch Hu, what I ask of you is, I'm making this aspirational Kabbalah, but if chas v'shalom I fail and divest myself of my holiness and make some really wrong turns in life, I'm asking you 2 things. Well, really one thing. Don't throw me away. Because even the animal, once it's consecrated, even if it acts like an animal, it still retains its kedusha. He goes on, he says, Rak biyada hakidusha hakidosha pechusa lekabel shavim. Kadosh Baruch Hu, your hands are always open to receive the penitence. Yashiveni Ela b'tshuva shleima. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, bring me back with complete tshuva. Kasher im levavi ato. Ki b'lev tamim ubedea yishara ani yotze me'ata mitura de parvada u'mershus hasitra achra u'mikol kas dilei shema'astim ubitaltim bittul gomer ka'afra da'ara. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right where I am right now, I'm leaving everything impure. I'm leaving everything. We'll say, can you imagine, by the way, I'm reading these words, but remember again, at some point we're going to be signing on to these words. Which means at some point in time I'm going to have to identify the things that are impure in my life, and I'm going to have to be ready to walk away from them. We'll say, who amongst us doesn't have impure things that we have in our lives? And I have to be ready. And we hold on to them. I know it's wrong. I know it's impure. And by the way, impure doesn't even have to be, I just know it's impure. I know it's not good for me. I know it's not good. But I do it anyway. Part of being Bnei Machshava Tova is if something is impure, I have to walk away from it. I have to walk away from it. Because if I'm not willing to walk away from it, then ultimately I'm not committed to Kedushas HaNefesh and Kedushas HaGuf. Vani holech v'nichnas im kol remach ivare u'shesag yidai haguf v'nefesh lemachan eshchina. And ultimately, again, I'm ready, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to re-enter into my relationship with you in my totality, my entire body, all of my limbs, all of my organs, everything to enter into you. So we'll say, so now you begin to see the Kabbalah structure. So first paragraph, aspirational. I want to sanctify my body and my soul. I want to attach myself to God in my ratzon, in my will, in my machshavas, my thoughts, my dibur, my speech, my maisa, my action. Paragraph 2, if chas v'shalom if I fail, I'm asking you not to reject me. Because even the animal, once it's vested with holiness, even if it acts like an animal, it still remains kadosh. Sometimes in life, after having achieved kedusha, I may end up acting like an animal. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I just ask you, just to remember, even if I act like an animal, I still have retained some of my kedusha. So please do not throw me away. Last paragraph. V'hineni, mekabel alai me'ata. And I will say from this point forward, I accept upon myself Lashkiach al kol pratios maasei machshavosai vidiburai kefi sheroi liish sheniskadesh b'kedusha ilah. And I will say this is now third paragraph. From this point forward, I hereby take upon myself to be attentive to all of the details of my actions, all the details of my thoughts, all the details of my speech, to make them befitting of a person who has attained a high level of kedusha. So we'll say, so paragraph 3 is aspirational as well, but it's aspirational after the fall. Right? So paragraph 1 is aspirational, I'm just starting. Paragraph 2 is what happens in the event of failure. Paragraph 3 is now espousing another affirmation of the previous aspiration. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I will say, here's the other piece. How does one achieve this level of Kedushas Nefesh, Kedushas Haguf? To be attentive to the details of how we live. How do I talk? How do I think? How do I act? How do I conduct myself in life? Being attentive to those details, that's what creates Kedusha. V'lo she'eyah chas v'shalom hefker. We'll say is incredible. I don't want to be hefker. We'll say, what's hefker? What's hefker? Right? Hefker, like literally ownerless, which means like, hefker is like, you say whatever you want. Now, see, I ever meet people like this, I just like to say what's on my mind. Like, unless chas v'shalom person has a disorder, right? That's called hefkerus. You don't just say what's on your mind, right? That's ultimately what it means to be a yid. What it means to be a yid is to control what you say and how you say it, right? There's a control over everything. There's a control over what I look at. There's a control over what I say. There's a control over how I look. I have to exercise control. Failure to exercise control is a life of hefker. V'Hashem yisparach yismecheni b'yamin sidko. Hashem should support me. V'yoreni, He should teach me. V'yadrichini, should guide me. B'darko derech hakodesh mitoch kol tov ruchni v'gufni. So I'll say, this is interesting. In the third paragraph of the Kabbalah, so here if you notice the petitioner is asking for help. Right, which is interesting. Right? So again, in the first paragraph, I'm espousing an aspiration. There wasn't an ask for help. In the third paragraph, because remember, what does the third paragraph come after? Third paragraph comes after failure. After failure, I realize, okay, I can't do this myself. I can't. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I need you to support me. This is a partnership. I'm going to do my piece, but I need you to hold me up. He goes on, he says, V'niske ani v'chol b'nei beisi v'chol chaverai, and I should be zochar, I should merit all the members of my household, all of my friends, v'chol beis Yisrael, all of Klal Yisrael, la'arichos yomim v'shanim tovim. We'll say, by the way, what a profound line to read at a time like this. The Piagetz says, you take this Kabbalah. We'll say, again, you take this Kabbalah, Kedushas Haguf, sanctity of the body, sanctity of the soul, connecting myself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in my desires, my wants, my thoughts, my speech, my actions. If Chas v'Shalom I fail, a willingness to get back up and a petition to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, do not reject me. Once again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I want to be holy. I want to be careful. I want to be attentive to the details of how I live. But I need your help in order to accomplish this. I will say, if a person does this, it says the Piagetz, you know what happens? A person commits themselves to this Chaburah. You know what happens? I am Zocha, together me, my family, my friends, and all of Klal Yisrael. La'arichos yomim b'shanim tovim smechim u'meusharim u'meirim ba'ar shalmala. Amen. Person takes this Kabbalah upon themselves, then what happens? They are Zocha together with all their family, all of their friends, all of Klal Yisrael, to longevity of days and years, right? Or days and years that are good, that are long, that are good. Tovim, smechim, filled with simcha, meusharim, filled with osher, filled with wealth, not just material wealth, but spiritual wealth. Umeirim ba'ar shalmala, and days that are illuminated by the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They will say, this is the Kabbalah. Where did Yaakov go? Yaakov leave? Did he have to leave? Okay, when he comes back, I have something to ask him. Let's say, so I try to point out, so this is the Lashon of the Piagetz now. Lashon of the Piagetz now. And I will say, this is the Kabbalah. Piagetz says you have to have this written on a piece of parchment, and he says it has to be written with the same lettering of a Sefer Torah, Ksav Ashuris. You write it like a section in a Torah, right? And all of the Bnei Chaburah ultimately sign onto it. A commitment, ultimately, again, to be part of this Chaburah. And Abba said, when you see the bracha involved, look at the bracha involved in the Chaburah. What's the bracha involved in the Chaburah? Arichos yomim v'shanim. Longevity. Bracha, not just for you, but for your family. Bracha for your community, bracha for your people, bracha for all of Klal Yisrael. And I will say, maybe it's hashgacha, we all thought that we were just really slow in how we learned this Sefer, right? And we were just moving at a snail's pace. But maybe HaKadosh Baruch Hu Dafka wanted us to really learn this piece tonight. Because all of us are like struggling with what to do. And there are so many things, Baruch Hashem, that we can do. We are not helpless or powerless in this situation as well. There's so much tzedakah to give. There is so much davening to do. There's so much learning to do. There's so much chesed to do. There is so much. But I think that this is something very powerful to do also. To solidify our commitment to our Rebbe. To solidify our commitment to the Piagetz. To solidify our commitment ultimately, again, to living a life as a member of Bnai Machshava Tova. I will say now, I know some of us are thinking, I love learning this. Signing on to this is something totally different. Okay. The good news is we don't have the Kabbalah ready tonight. It's okay. So although I'm not going to tell you when I'm bringing it this year, I'll say, but it's something to think about, because the truth is, when we do sign on to this, we're signing on to commitment to a way of life. And maybe that's what many of us need. I say maybe what we need, maybe what we're lacking, is a little bit of commitment. And maybe what we're lacking is, I've got all the knowledge, I know what I need to do. Maybe I just don't have the push to do it. And I was saying, nothing gives a person a push like loss, like tragedy, like war, like danger, like sadness. Because in all of those things, there's also something else, which is incredible opportunity. And the Rebbe has laid out for us, I will say, a pathway, a program that we could become the best version of ourselves. That is possible, and that is within reach. So Rebbe will say, we'll stop over here for tonight. This was an incredible limud. Yaakov's father is a sofer. So I was going to ask him, maybe he would write it up for us, the shtar, write up the shtar Kabbalah for us. Might be something really nice, but okay, I'll ask him independently. Rebbe will say, such a schos, Baruch Hashem, to be able to learn the Rebbe's Torah. And again, we should all find the courage, when the Kabbalah is ready, we should all find the courage in Emirat Hashem to sign on to it, and to Emirat Hashem make it happen. Yes?
The rabbi has asked all of us to sign on for a half an hour commitment to Torah, to learning, because we've learned from many of the soldiers that they really want us to smile, to learn, to talk, to be faithful to what they're doing. And I started 2 days ago. For that half hour, and I'm just learning. I'm a beginner. And I felt like I was there. As I learned the Chumash, I told you, I said something. I read 2 pages of the Chumash yesterday, 2 pages of the Chumash today. And to your point about making a commitment of what we just learned tonight, it works. It works. I'm living here to tell you it works. I felt so connected to the challenge that these young men and women are fighting over there. And they're feeling our learning. The daf was enough. I mean, that's a lot. But now I'm adding another 30 minutes on top of that. But it's time well spent. So the timing of what the Piyush Esman is saying that we should do today, as the rabbi has articulated so beautifully, it works. Sign up. It really, really works. You never put me up to this.
We did not arrange this. We did not arrange this. Shkoyach, David. Shkoyach. Beautiful. Chavra, we're going to stop here. I'm going to ask everyone to please just stay. We're going to split up Sefer Tehillim together. Each of these cards is 5 kapitlach of Tehillim. So just take a card. There are Sifrei Tehillim right over here on the thing, and also in the Sidurim. If you need more Sifrei Tehillim, just maybe grab Sidurim. Come inside, Chavra. Take a card. If we run out of one. Actually, you know what? Before you do that one, finish up the orange one first. They're duplicates. I just want to make sure we finish all of Sefer Tehillim first. Or just, it's deep. Just take a stack of them from if there are still.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Mayor, can you bring some Sidurim? Thank you.
I don't think I've ever seen it. I don't know cooking, but it was good to know. I remember something.
Incredible. Good. Kevin, did we finish up are the orange cards finished? Clever, the orange card's finished. Orange cards.
I'm not sure I'm going to sign up.
Good. Here. Edelman's got?
If you like 119, no problem.
There's plenty. I have more. There you go. Anyone not get? Anyone not get? Mayor, could I have one of those to do? Thank you. We'll say your Tehillim out loud. Let's hear each other. You don't have to do this quietly. Chevra, if you finish and you want more, just take one of these cards over here. Michtam David Shamir Kisisi Ba Khamat Abinay Adinay Tinto Seba Lachshin Shem Seba Berchat Seba Mibas Osam Khama Haro Hasan Iskeme Da Basash Basamas Basai Adinay Manas Halki Vekosi Ata Tomiyet Orami Khavona Talmud Dov Yishem Yisrael Balchamat Adonai Adonai Atal Sikbalam Neshem Neshem Emes Nodi Chol Seba Yevu Asasam V'Chamaro Ba'asin Iskem Yidam Ba'asash Vasam Asfasai Adonai Manas Chalki V'Chosiat Al-Kamei Karoli Chavalim Naflu Limanim Af Nachala Shafra Alai Abrei Chassan Shayat Zani Apnos Kiesmen Koyosai Shivis Yadonai Lenegdi Samir Kimini Balech Malachim Samach Livi Agal Glodi Pitresh Konabata Kilo Tazom Nafshi Lishal Lo Sitein Chasit Chal Roshach Zodiene Chaim Sobas Machos Panecha Nimos Beminchanes Atfilo Dovi Shema Dinai Tzedek Ashiva Rinasi Hazina Tfilo Sim Lo Sisei Mirma Mil Fanecha Mishpati Yitzei Necha Techazam Misharim Tachanti Libi Ipakar Talai Lachaftani Bachtim Zo Zomosi Baya Varpi Befulo Sadam Bikras Hosacham Yishamadia Hosparitz Tama Chashai Magosacham Balamushu Namutu Bamai Ani Krasicha Gizaneni El Hatat Nachali Yishma Imrasi Haflei Chazdecha Moshiach Hosim Biskovi Bibinecha Shemini Kisham Basayim B'tzak Nafechat Asreni Ibn Yerushem Zo Shaluni Oy Vai Benafshi Yakif Halai Chabamo Sagru Pimo Dabru B'Nimos Asherin Atosamo Enen Yoshi Sun Tos Bares Timiona Karyeg Sof Litrof B'Kfir Yoshim Mistarim Kuma Adonai Salma Bana Machri Ego Palto Nafshi Mirash Achabecha B'Msim Yadcha Adonai B'Msim Mechal Etchal Kamachayim Tzfun Chatim Alei Bitna Yispu Banim B'Michu Yisrom Lo Behem Ani B'Tzedek Shachazah Panecha Esba B'Kitz Tunosecho Namzech Liyamed Adonai Dadira Shadiver Dadira Divrei Ashiva Zos Komitzia Asoso Miad Oy Ba Miad Shov Yom Rachma B'Chizkiat Reisem Tznosim Afti Elin Tzuri V'Sabo Magini V'Keren Yishim V'Skavim V'Lalek V'Adonai Min Oy Ba Yitoshim Afti Chavim Mavez Nachli B'Li Ali Masuni Chavlei Shol Savuni Kilmuni Mokshei Mavez Batzrali Yekra Adonai V'Elohai Elohai Elosh Eshabeah Yishma Meichalo Koli V'Shavasid V'Necha Tavo Vaznaha Atigash Vatirash Aretz V'Osnei Arim Yirgash V'Gazu V'Eskash V'Kichar Lo Allah Hashem Nabo Meish V'Vitochal Kechalim Baru Menu Meishayim V'Yirad V'Afal Tachas Ragla V'Yikava V'Yov V'Yedeh Al Kartei Luach Yashes Choshes Yisrael Siyosav Sugaso Cheshchas Mayim Avesh Chakim Minoga Nekdo Abba Avru Baran B'Gachal Yesh V'Yarei V'Hashem V'Yadonai V'Ayon Yitei Kolo Baran B'Gachal Yesh Yishlach Yitzav Yeritzim V'Rakim Rabbayim V'Yirati Yimayim V'Yigol Mosos Teval Nas Adonai Munish Masruach Atacha Yishlach Miram Nikachini Yamsheni Mayim Rabim Hatzim V'Ayvaya Oz Misonai Ki Yamtsu Mimani Yakanmuni B'Yom Eidi V'Yadonai V'Shamni V'Yatzim V'Yachal Ki Yaviz V'Yigol V'Yadonai Ki Tzidki Gvar Yadi Yosheli Ki Shamati Dachi Adonai V'Nashati V'Elohai Ki Kol Mishpatav V'Legdi V'Chugotov L'Asim Mimani V'Yitemu Imo V'Eshtamer Me'avoni Yavoni V'Yashavan V'Eliki Tzidki Kvar Yadan L'Egedinav Im Chazit Yitzchasad Im Devar Tizalam Im Navar Titzvadav Im Mikesh Titzbatal Ki Ata Am Ani Zoshia V'Einayim Ramos Tashvil Ki Ata Ta'er Neri Adonai Elohai Yagia Chashki Ki B'chal V'Skidud V'Olai Adalek Shor Al Tamim Darko Ibn Sanet Shurfa Magin L'Chol Simbo V'Olo Zimo Mi Agimi Elohai Mivada. We'll say if you finished and you want more, you can take from the green pile over here. Imra Sanet Shurfa Magin L'Chol Simbo Imi Elohai Valade Adonai Mitzvah Zulasi Elohai Zuzini Chayu Yidei Tamim Darkim B'Shaver Raglai Kayalos Amma Mosai Amidiri Lamed Yadai V'Chalva V'Nishazak Keshes N'Husha Zero Asahai Zero V'Titili Magin Yishechem V'Vatizadini Mansat Rabini Tarchim Tzadi Taktai V'Lo Ma'adu Karsulai Eradov V'Ivai V'Asegim V'Lo Shavak Alosam V'Chosim V'Kum Yiplu Tachas Raglai V'Tazvini Chayim V'Chama V'Tachia Kamai Taktai V'Vayin Azad V'Oref V'Sanayat Yisim Shavoi Moshia L'Adonai V'Lo Anon Meshchalkeim Kefra B'Irut Ruach Kedin Kutzos Arikim Tifaltini Rivei Am Tizimini Rosh Koyim Am Lo Yadat Yavduni The Shema Ozen Yishmuli B'nei Nechai Chachashuli B'nei Chai Kol Yachlu Moskov Seim Chai Adonai Ubarot Suri V'Arum Alai Yishei V'Hei Yishei Am Nosein Kamos Leo Raganatim Tachtai V'Fatim V'Ivai Afmin Kamai Trameni Mishchamas Latzini Alkein Otcha B'Agoyim Adina V'Shilcha Zamira Magdir Shos Magov V'Osechas Nishchol Davezaro Adonom Same with Radia Sham Sam Klot Masan Kira. Now you have me of them come down and you shall know about the same thing. We shall just for the same Kubasir Siski Ross, Rachim Seshan, School, so some Khamis on Trust and message. It was in a Magmas Pass, Sham Sam Khilek, Sasa, Baran Yasina, Resonate, Red October, when I thought, Mishkad Night MS, and we had our name, Zababa, Skimmy Dutch, Team of Commons, as you should be as coach. You do not send me to the Fanach, the night Suri, because the same on the wind, and Khadinabi Yamsara, he's a gift for Shem, Yakov, Shachs, the Hamid Kodesh, Mitzion, he said that he's going to come to the side dash Naseva, King Hotel, that's how you are, I'm sure they're Shako. When the other night comes, I'll say, I tired that the Kioshan, and I'm Mishikov, and now we shank and traveling with us here, Shayimino. Eila Barecha, Eila Basu Simon, Mishima, Naskia, Imakano, and Apana Kamnis, and Adonai Shia, a Melech Yane, young parents in the village, and so Ismach Melech, Traskamayagamo, Tabas Nivona Santolava, Shasapamata Sela, Keys, Yamenu, Tov, Hosto, Tashis, Roshata, Spas, Chaim Shalom, Orethni, Olam Blood. Kadol Bodem Shasach, hold rather travel up. Key to Chaburah, host of Hadim, Simchas Manecha, Kiamat, what they have Badina, Yasim by Mok, Tim Sayat, Kala Becha, you find himself Sonecha, Tishim Casanor, Ace, the Ace, Manecha, Adonai Bapo, Adonai Bapo. Yovahim Solim, Ishmael, Momer, Sabit, Sarah in the Adam, Kinatu Allah, Kashum is more by Fabo, Kiti, Shizim Shechem, Ishim to Koni Hafiam, Nehem, Ruma, Drebu, Zakhan, Shir, Zamra, Vodafa, Grosafa, tells the Sham is not good. I really love the Rahan, which was Yvrei Shagos, Yelai, Mavlasana, I love Jamila, Zahan shaped to us, and the Fan Bahan Sinu, unto us on Tim Elecha Zakov and Imata Bahavat Lavosho, Anoki Tolasso, Ishkepas, Atal Bizuam, Oro, Ayal, Igudi, Yaftil, Safa, Yani Rosh, Kala Dneva Teo, Yasileo, Hifetz Bo. Kiatog, Batum, Tikal, Shneim, Yala Hajati, Makaminat, and Yatoti, Mimani, Kitango, Mokiyozer, Sunni Parim Radim, Abire Bashan, Kisuni Patu IPM. I travel Shani Kamai Shmati, is part to call as Messiah Libika Donor, no specific may I. Yavesh Kefanas, Kofi, the Shani Black Marco High Lap by Mamas Sani, Kisavoni Klavim, and last Remy Kifuni Kari Yadai, Black Class Mosai. Hema Yabito Birubi, the Kalku Gadaiva, and Malabushi, Yapilu Barao. And to add how the Kakali was in the Sifusha Hatsida, Bekarab Nashimi at Kalab Kilos Yoshi, and maybe I am a many sunny. As a brush in Halachai, so Kalhalaka, Iran. Ozari Yakov Kabdua, Burimeno, very strong. Kilo Bazal, Shikat, and Usani, was Tiapanachimani, Shavoy Love Shami, Mitchot, Simi Kalab, Ayashalin, Negative, Yofulan, I didn't spell Yabu, Adonai Joshua, the Kilo of him, the Adi Screw Yeshua, Adonai Kolas, Ares, Shakul, the Fanaka, Komishkoskoim, Kila, Muhammad, Shaman, Goyim. The Shnez, the Banabi, the Kuru Bible Streamers, National Hia, Zay Abdullah, Super Ladinai, Lazar, Yahoo, Yajibis, Kaso, Yamono, Yaso, Oyava, Havaino, Kalbeis Israel, Havaino, Kalbeis Israel. Hanisunim asavara tzara uvash